This is the Aramark Warehouse Safety Training. Next slide. Warehouse Hazards Overview. Common warehouse hazards. Product storage, improper stacking of products, product placement, condition of shelving, improper chemical use and storage. Repetitive motion injuries, ergonomics. Bending, lifting, reaching. Pedestrian safety traffic. Failure to use appropriate PPE, driving too fast, unsafe use of forklifts, failure to use appropriate PPE, lifting unbalanced loads, inadequate fire safety, access to fire extinguishers, access to emergency exits, and aisle and floor conditions, housekeeping, wet and slippery floors. Next slide. Ivy City Union Station operations. Examples of tasks performed. Delivery of products to trains. Retrieval of products from trains. Transfers in, transfers out. Staging of product. Stocking shelves using forklifts, pallet jacks, hand carts, etc. Rotating stock. Picking orders and stripping orders. Sort food and beverage. Housekeeping, sweeping, mopping, and removing trash, and inventory management. Next slide. Warehouse racking and loading recommendations. Visually inspect all rack systems in the warehouse and record all flagrant issues that may cause a dangerous condition. Ensure to record missing safety guards on racking, racking not bolted to the floor, and the condition of pallets. Determine maximum load capacity of each of the storage racks. Ensure to label the racks with maximum load capacity. Access the amount of weight on each rack to ensure we are not exceeding maximum load capacity. Ensure all heavy storage, for example backup china, are stored on lower racks or on separate dunnage racks. Ensure to shrink wrap all pallets above the first level to avoid any loose product falling off and hurting warehouse personnel. Next slide. Warehouse ergonomics recommendations. Procure floor safety mats for jobs requiring standing positions for more than an hour. Hand working heights should range from 24 inches to 48 inches. Heavier and more frequently handled products should be stored between 38 inches and 49 inches. Use lower and higher shelves for lighter weight products. Horizontal reaching, for example, reaching to the backs of shelves, should not be more than 22 inches measured from the front of the shelf to the back. Use flow racking wherever possible to promote first in and first out. Visual displays, for example labels, should be 58 inches to 71 inches from the floor. Next slide. Proper lifting techniques. Squat to lift and lower. Do not bend at the waist. Keep your lower back bowed in while bending over. Keep the weight as close to your body as possible. Bow your back in and raise up with your head first. If you must turn, turn with your feet, not your body. Never jerk or twist. Put the weight down by keeping your lower back bowed in. Keep your feet apart, staggered if possible. Wear shoes with non-slip soles. Next slide. Quiz 1. Identify problem areas in the pictures below. Lower the barcodes with an optimal hand working heights between 58 inches and 71 inches above the standing surface. Optimize the use of shelf space. Remove the boxes stored on the floor. Implement 6S. Next slide. Warehouse ergonomics. Hazard: injuries may occur from improper lifting or overexertion. Solutions: ensure racking is in good condition and at correct height. Minimize lifting by utilizing carts, dollies, and other mechanical aids. Lift properly and get a coworker to help if a product is too heavy or awkward to handle. Store heavier products on racking between the knees and shoulders. Next slide. Quiz 2. Identify problem areas in the picture below. No PPE. The ladder is right behind the worker, which is a potential trip hazard. The shelf height is too high. Lower warehouse shelf heights. Lower shelf heights to have the hand working height within the comfort zone for manual material handling. maximum 71 inches above the standing surface, and to minimize wasted motion time. Avoid retrieving products from the high base shelving and pallets using repetitive and non-neutral postures. Next slide. Optimize cart casters. Replace worn cart casters with ones that reduce the pushing force required. Casters that consist of electrometric material is shock absorbing and it resists flat spotting with sealed precision bearings. Warehouse workers sometimes exert up to 65 pounds when transferring loads to the staging area, resulting in forceful, non-neutral postures. Look for broken and dirty casters. Next slide. Quiz 3. Identify problem areas in the picture below. Non-standard boxes on shelf. No PPE. Improve storage by standardizing product location. Place products of similar size together to optimize storage space and reduce non-neutral postures. Example below. Small product boxes, for example M&Ms, are positioned on the same flow rack as large product boxes, for example Snyder's chips, resulting in wasted storage space as well as repetitive, non-neutral postures when picking products. Next slide. Quiz number 4. Identify problem areas in the picture below. The egress is blocked. There is stock hanging off the shelves. The worker is wearing no PPE. There is stock that's staged in the aisle. There needs to be more attention to warehouse hazard pedestrian traffic safety. Next slide. What is 6S? 6S is a warehouse organization system that sorts, sets in order, shines, standardizes, and sustains, and always looks out for safety. Next slide. Quiz 5. Identify problem areas in the pictures below. Improve visibility of products and tools. Complete 6S improvements in the warehouse to ensure consistent location of products, tools, and equipment. Tape lines on the floor where beverage pallets should be stored. Tape lines on the floor for consistent location of carts. Use shadow boards to designate locations for tools and equipment. Regularly clean the floor to improve cart movement. Label containers and shelving, for example, red labels can mean high risk. Next slide. These pictures show the Washington linen room before 6S. You can see the disorganized storage and there's blocked areas, and then you can see the linen room after 6S. Everything is in its place, everything is labeled, everything is taped off, and there's plenty of room to move around. Next slide. Here are a couple of warehouse hazards. Workers can be injured when they are caught in pinch points or in the ingoing nip points, are hit by falling products, or develop musculoskeletal disorders associated with awkward postures or repetitive motions. Solutions. Inspect conveyors regularly. Ensure that pinch points are adequately guarded. Develop ways of locking out conveyors and train employees in these procedures. Provide proper lighting and working surfaces in the area surrounding the conveyor. Docks. The hazard. Injuries happen when forklifts can run off the docks, products can fall on employees, or equipment could strike a person. Solution. Drive forklifts slowly on docks and dock plates. Secure dock plates and ensure the plate can safely support the load. Keep clear of dock edges and never back forklifts to the dock's edge. Provide visual warnings near dock edges. Prohibit dock jumping by employees. Next slide. Forklifts. Hazard. About 100 employees are killed and 95,000 are injured every year while operating forklifts in all industries. Forklift turnovers account for a significant percentage of these fatalities. Solutions. Train, evaluate, and certify all operators to ensure they can operate forklifts safely. Properly maintain equipment, including tires. Before using a forklift, examine it for hazardous conditions which would make it unsafe to operate. Follow safe procedures for picking up, putting down, and stacking loads. Drive safely, never exceeding 2 miles an hour, and slow down in congested areas or those with slippery surfaces. Ensure the operator wears a seatbelt. Never drive up to a person standing in front of a fixed object such as a wall or stacked materials. Prohibit stunt driving and horseplay. Do not handle loads that exceed the weight capacity of the forklift. Maintain safe clearances for aisles and at loading docks or passages where forklifts are used. Operators must be trained to operate any lift. Next slide. Quiz 6, Forklift Hazards. Forklift injuries and fatalities. Forklift overturns cause the most deaths. Overturns represent about what percentage of forklift-related fatalities? 10%, 15%, 20%, or 25%? 25%. Next slide. Proper PPE is a must while working in the warehouse. Full PPE is required when driving a forklift or being a spotter for the forklift driver. A spotter is required for loading products above 6 feet from ground level. Next slide. Hazard communication. Hazard: chemical burns from improper use or spillage. Solution: maintain a material safety data sheet for each chemical to which workers are exposed. Follow the instructions on the MSDS for proper handling. Train employees on the risks of chemicals in the commissary. Ensure secondary containers are properly labeled. Train employees on proper cleanup and disposal procedures. Provide proper personal protective equipment and enforce its use. Store all chemicals safely and securely. Store chemicals away from forklift traffic areas. Next slide. Floor condition. Hazard: slip, trips, and fall conditions caused by loose and cracked tiles, seeping adhesive, open gaps between tiles, mats, and runners. Solution: promptly report and correct hazardous conditions, clearly indicate and mark unsafe floor conditions while waiting for corrective maintenance, routinely inspect mats and runners to correct conditions such as buckling, edge curling, rips, tears, and degradation of quality. Next slide. Other common hazards: inadequate fire safety, improper use of lockout tagout, improper or non-use of required PPE, electrical hazards, damaged and inadequate ladders, blocked fire extinguishers, blind spots, poor housekeeping, broken equipment, poor 6S implementation. Next slide. Enabling tools: GMM safety observations, GMM pre-shift huddles, Go Spot Check 5-star shift, Shoes for Crews safety shoe program, Serve Safe food safety training, PPE audits, 6S process audits, ladder safety training, warehouse storage rack safety training, powered industrial vehicles DVRR, Encore programs, and biweekly safety meetings. Next slide. This completes the Aramark warehouse safety training. Thank you.